Just when you thought the Potterverse couldn't get any bigger, enter the much-awaited Hogwarts Legacy. That's right, Potterheads have been over the moon with excitement about the opportunity to attend Hogwarts, pick a house, and live out adventures in the newest open-world edition in the Harry Potter franchise. If you'd like to know more about the game or how it holds up, we've got you all covered in today's video. Buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride. First up, Hogwarts Legacy exciting new footage looks promising. Almost after two longest, never-ending years of its first reveal, and after two entire years of hush, quietus, and media blackout, Hogwarts Legacy recently resurfaced with a fresh release date and the first glimpse of its gameplay. It wasn't simply a new trailer, but a deep, meaty dive into the game with lots and lots of raw, uncut footage, enough to get Harry Potter fans super stoked. Seriously guys, it looks magnificent and pretty darn good, but it looks like not everything's been received with wide smiles and open arms. There've been some concerns raised as well. For one, we can see that the lip-syncing in the trailer isn't very good. Some of the voice acting isn't great either. It's extremely mediocre to say the least. A few graphic issues here and there, and unfortunately, no Harry, Ron, or Hermione in the game either, so there goes half of our excitement. Plus, some already think it looks like just another mobile game. But hold your brooms, let's not get too critical too early. These are honestly minor issues to some extent, and can be fixed or improved with time. Besides, as per the creators, this was supposed to be the incomplete version of the game, so let's not be too hard on them. And Hogwarts Legacy confirms a good news. But there's an even bigger concern though, that the game will have microtransactions. Every gamer's worst night, that darned plague. What's the source of the concern? If you've seen the recent trailer, you'll notice that there are timers on potion making that require long waits, tons of customization, and we also see a unique currency called moonstones in the latest footage. Sounds familiar, right? That's because it's exactly like a typical setup for microtransactions. So many assume that we're going to be putting up with the gaming world's COVID, also known as microtransactions, on Hogwarts Legacy 2. But thankfully though, there are none. Chandler Wood, the game's community manager, confirmed on Twitter that there were no microtransactions in the game. But would this change after the launch? Wood doesn't say much. A growing number of games have been released with no microtransactions initially, only to add them after user review went live. Take Battlefield 2042 for example, that's apparently set to release a fresh new set of microtransactions soon. That said, there's no reason to expect Hogwarts Legacy to go down this path for the time being, especially as a single-player game. While it remains to be seen whether Hogwarts Legacy can live up to the hype, Harry Potter fans may find peace knowing that microtransactions will not get in the way or spoil the experience. Next, it's an open-world game. Another positive aspect about Hogwarts Legacy is that it's going to be an open-world game, and we know what the genre means: totally, unlimited, 100% freedom. And who doesn't love that? Imagine being in the wizarding world where you can go to and from wherever you please. You can choose your own storyline depending on your house, play at your own pace, combat with wands, use spells to hex, curse, or charm opponents, and even attend classes at Hogwarts. So that's definitely something a lot of fans are already quite hyped about. Even if you aren't that big on Harry Potter itself, the concept seems quite exciting, and if it's going to look like the trailer, it's definitely going to live up to the hype. Now, a few red flags. But let's get real here. This may not be entirely about grinding up a bunch of plants for potions or flying on a broom, hexing your opponents, and chilling at Hogwarts. To some, it all appears a tad bit sus. Too good to be true. There are a few things that people seem to be ignoring. For example, what consoles is the game coming to? All of them, from PC, PS, Xbox to Nintendo Switch, which sounds impressive and promising. But to many, the fact that it'd run natively on Nintendo Switch is a massive red flag. Why? Because it's an open world game where you're flying around, casting spells, doing literally anything you want on a freaking Nintendo Switch that runs like 9 frames per second? Correct us if we're wrong, but isn't it way too underpowered to run an open world Harry Potter game where a lot of action is supposed to go down? It looks like it's being held back by old gen hardware for now, and maybe that's why the developers keep delaying it too. In any case, it's really testing our patience at this point, and honestly at this point, we don't even mind being patient about it. But if it ever comes out as disappointing as Battlefield 2042 after all this waiting, we're Avada Kedavraing the creators and demanding our money and time back. Now, Avalanche Software. Speaking of creators, this is another major red flag because guess who that is? Avalanche Software. And you want to know what kind of work Avalanche has previously done? Some pretty terrible work on the games they released annually for Disney, and they're literally Disney games for dumb babies. And this is supposed to be an open world game with a lot to offer, but we'd still give it the benefit of the doubt, and let's all pretend that this one will be different. But then again, even if it is, it's not possible for that trailer footage to look like a game from this studio. So will it live up to the hype? We think, based on the sheer amount of people hyped up about the game, the sales will surely be successful. We truly believe that Hogwarts Legacy will come out and will be at least an enjoyable game where you'd sink in up to 100 hours in happily, since there's so much to explore and do, so we're sure that the hardcore fans will definitely enjoy their time. But will it live up to the hype? We'd say not necessarily. All the crazy hype around the game that's got Potter fans extremely stoked is coming from very little real info on the game, and also people just loving the franchise. There's zero doubt that in terms of creating the hype around the game, the creators have definitely won. It's now rivaling that of Cyberpunk 2077 or even Destiny and their 10-year plan of content. The lack of information and the constant delaying is making people speculate about what's going to be in the game and what characters we're going to be seeing. Theories are going wild, and it's gotten to a point where if the game doesn't deliver, the consumers will be super upset, and that's just us putting it lightly. Battlefield 2042 is one example of the hype train crashing catastrophically. It was one of the most anticipated games of 2021, but upon release, it failed to live up to its expectations due to a number of genuine issues. First off, the game was littered with bugs, there's lack of proper content, characters, or storyline that many Hogwarts Legacy fans are beginning to fear as well, thanks to the creators keeping things under that invisibility cloak. Now, don't get us wrong, we're not jumping to wrong conclusions, and we're not those joy-sucking party-pooping dementors raining on you in your fave wizard's parade, but the constant, never-ending disappointments with video games has left us bitter. It's the same old cycle for each and every one of them. Teasers, meaty trailers, followed by massive hype, a lot of promises, too good to be true graphics, and then the release. And once you finally get your hands on the game after waiting for years, it's pretty meh. It's worse than your worst betrayal, and we all know how bad that hurts. But we'd still say, let's not make a lot of assumptions about it just yet, because there's a good chance that the game may be releasing in 2023 now, instead of later this year. So the developers have a lot of time to do it right. Let's hope they'll be making amends if needed, because it is clearly needed. We can swear they are after watching the trailer. Lastly, fans and critics should wait it out. And it's totally normal and fair for fans to have expectations, and for games to meet and honor deadlines and expectations. Gaming titles, like any other product, have players spending their hard-earned dough. Many games even have Kickstarters and crowdfunding platforms where fans may put their faith in developers and their ideas. And it's true that early releases often kill the game. Cyberpunk 2077 and Battlefield 2042 are two recent examples of it. After multiple delays, it became clear that Cyberpunk 2077 wasn't ready when it launched, and Battlefield 2042 is an even more recent example, with fans already abandoning the game. Even if it became a fantastic product in the next few months, fans are unlikely to put their confidence and money back into it. So we'd say Hogwarts Legacy can take all the time in the world, but please don't crash the hype train that we're all aboard. That's a wrap for this video. See you in the next one.